China's economy faces greater crisis. Unfinished building kids form new class. Delisting of mainland stock market companies hits new high. Experts, huge damage to investors. Western Airlines exodus from China, expert insights. Harbin girl dies after tonsil surgery, hospital allegedly empties internal organs for autopsy. Mao Zedong's roots, Deng Xiaoping's vines, is Xi Jinping the fruit? It's all covered in today's China Truths. China's economy faces greater crisis. Unfinished building kids form new class. The Chinese Communist Party has been attempting to tackle the financial crisis with extensive money printing, yet recent data indicates that the central bank is slowing down this practice, a troubling sign. Concurrently, China's escalating youth unemployment crisis has birthed a new societal class, dubbed the unfinished building kids. This term, gaining traction across Chinese social media, likens these young adults to unfinished construction projects. They spend over a decade in education only to graduate into unemployment, achieving little and wasting their best years on pointless exams, leaving their lives unfinished. Stories circulate online of an entire class from a prestigious 211 university, with degrees in bioengineering, failing to find employment and returning to graduate school. Their conclusion: they're the newest unfinished building kids. For the audiences who may not know, the term 211 University is a prestigious Chinese institution selected under the Project 211, a government initiative launched in 1995 to enhance the research and educational quality of around 100 top universities in China. Voice of America reported the plight of Amanda Chen, a Hubei University of Chinese medicine alumna, who resigned after a disheartening job search in her field led only to low-paying sales roles. Despite over 130 applications, she quit after enduring a month of 12-hour shifts that paid merely 60 yuan, about $8.42 a day, a situation that brought her to tears daily. China's youth unemployment rate soared to a record 17.1% in July. The trend is expected to worsen, with the number of graduates potentially reaching 18 million by 2034, amidst an economy battered by a real estate crash. Data from the central bank by the end of July showed the M2 money supply balance at 303.31 trillion yuan, approximately $44.8 trillion, marking the slowest growth rate in 2 years. This slowdown signals a decrease in the printing of new money, previously ramped up to manage debts and stave off financial collapse. However, a recent Bloomberg report revealed that for the first time since 2005, bank loans in China have decreased. This financial stagnation is apparent as loans fail to circulate, leaving the economy teetering on the brink of further crises. Netizens remarked, China's economic credit card isn't just maxed out, it's rolling over debt. It looks like the money printing machine might have to switch jobs to a paper shredder soon. The public knows exactly what's going on. Nationwide lying flat and half lying flat are the best responses to the CCP's oppressive policies. Meanwhile, independent commentator Financial Coldeye explained that the central bank reported a 16% year-on-year drop in new yuan loans for the first 7 months of this year. Based on that, July's new loans hit a 15-year low, reflecting financial data for a society collectively lying flat. New loans indicate societal vitality. A thriving society needs people or businesses borrowing money to generate more wealth. China's record low in new loans signifies a nationwide financial lying flat, where people aren't taking out loans, aren't producing, and aren't buying homes, the very scenario the CCP fears most. Furthermore, on August 12th and 13th, A-share trading volumes hit record lows for 2 consecutive days. On August 13, 2024, the turnover rate for major A-shares also reached its lowest level in recent years. For the Chinese public, stocks are already seen as highly speculative, but even the gamblers don't have money to play anymore, highlighting the extent of nationwide lying flat. Now, businesses aren't borrowing to expand production, and people aren't taking loans to buy homes. Without funds flowing into real businesses, economic growth faces serious challenges, making a larger financial disaster inevitable. The CCP's rule depends on improving people's living standards, so economic troubles will inevitably lead to a governance crisis. Du Ben, ousted from Jilin University and expelled from China for speaking to international media, observed significant changes over his 9 years in China. He told the Voice of America, after the COVID-19 outbreak, everything shifted. Students became less optimistic, less idealistic, the economic environment clearly worsened, career prospects aren't as bright as before, and the regime has grown increasingly oppressive with tighter control over people's daily lives. Over time, everything will only become harder. When asked whether there's a chance for change, considering more people are mockingly referring to China as West Korea due to its regression under authoritarian rule, Du Ben said that opportunities for change do exist, but the extent largely depends on economic development. Significant changes are most likely if China faces severe and worsening economic difficulties. On the other hand, Du Ben pointed out that another potential source of change could come from within the CCP itself. He said that Xi Jinping's system is heavily dependent on him personally, making the fate of the CCP closely tied to his. If something happens to Xi, it could lead to instability throughout the entire system. Du Ben added that black swan events are always possible, and sometimes these changes can happen suddenly, catching everyone off guard. Delisting of mainland stock market companies hits new high, experts, huge damage to investors. This year, China's stock market is experiencing a significant rise in IPO withdrawals and delistings, with nearly half of IPOs being cancelled and a record number of companies being removed from the exchanges. By August 21, 40 companies were delisted from the Shanghai and Shenzhen exchanges, with 9 more facing notices, potentially surpassing last year's total of 45 delistings. The spike in withdrawn IPO applications in the A-share market highlights broader economic issues affecting the stock market. Of 734 companies applying for IPO review, 349 voluntarily terminated their applications, reflecting domestic investors' growing frustrations over continuous losses and weak economic conditions, which are also driving foreign capital out. Most delistings result from stock prices falling below 1 yuan, 14 cents, triggering automatic delisting rules if prices remain below that threshold for 20 consecutive trading days. Some delistings are also linked to financial misconduct. Public opinion criticizes the influx of unqualified IPOs, suggesting that many companies are primarily fundraising without viable long-term plans, increasing risks for investors. In response, regulators have tightened IPO qualifications this year. While experts support removing unqualified companies, they warn that aggressive delisting could harm investor confidence. According to Loyal Capital Limited fund manager Xiaoping, while more delistings are expected due to the varied quality of companies under the registration-based reform, widespread delistings could erode market stability and confidence. Yang Rui of Shanghai Prospect Investment Management added that forced delistings severely impact stock prices and investors, stressing the need to strengthen compensation mechanisms for the delisting process to function effectively. Western Airlines exodus from China, expert insights. As previously reported, several international airlines, including British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, and Qantas, have recently cut or cancelled flights to China, citing commercial reasons, low demand, and extended flight times. British Airways will suspend its London-Beijing route for a year starting in October, while Virgin Atlantic and Qantas have also pulled back services to Shanghai. Additionally, U.S.-China flights remain reduced to a fraction of pre-2019 levels. As the world's second-largest economy, China maintains extensive trade ties with many countries. Why, then, are Western airlines withdrawing from such a significant market? David Huang, a U.S.-based economic expert, analyzed for the Epoch Times that fewer Chinese are traveling abroad, particularly to the West, due to 2 key reasons. First, post-pandemic economic strain has left people with less disposable income, leading to reduced overseas travel. Second, many government officials and state-owned enterprise employees, who previously had strong purchasing power, now face tighter travel restrictions, including passport confiscations and mandatory approvals, sharply reducing outbound travel from this group. Additionally, China's deteriorating investment environment has caused a significant drop in business visits, exchanges, and tourism from Western countries. The closure of Russian airspace to most Western airlines post-Russia-Ukraine war has also significantly increased flight costs to China. China has further intensified competition by expanding international routes via Russia and the Arctic. This has created a price war, with Chinese airlines offering cheaper options by absorbing costs, making it harder for Western airlines to compete. Political factors also play a role, as the Chinese government may block Western airlines' route approvals for political reasons. In response, some Western countries have cancelled certain routes. Taiwanese financial expert Huang Shizong adds that both inbound travel to China and outbound travel from China have declined due to stricter visa reviews and efforts to curb capital outflows. Trade and technology disputes between China and Western countries, along with China's stringent regulations, have reduced investment and travel demand, leading airlines to cut flights as a cost-saving measure. Meanwhile, Chinese airlines continue expanding despite significant losses, benefiting from 30% lower costs and cheaper routes via Russia and the Arctic. This aligns with the Chinese Communist Party's strategy to reshape global economic structures and project China as a global power. According to financial expert Huang Zedong, Chinese airlines are compelled to operate even at a loss due to heavy investments in aircraft, contrasting with Western airlines that cut flights during economic downturns. Widening rift between the West and the CCP. According to experts, Western airlines pulling back from China is set to lower China's global aviation status, indicating declining interest from major carriers. This move limits personnel exchanges, further isolating China economically and internationally. David Huang notes that Western airlines excel in service and technology, areas where Chinese airlines struggle, which could deter Western investment. The shift also impacts economic exchanges as businesses prefer Western carriers. Additionally, consumer perception may turn negative, viewing China's market as less appealing and more self-reliant. David Huang sees airplanes in the sky as symbols of international diplomacy and political alignment. The West's pullback from the Chinese market and pivot to other regions suggests a reduced presence on the global stage and a growing diplomatic rift, signaling a widening gap between the West and the CCP. In summary, while the CCP might secure short-term gains in market share, the medium to long-term outlook is unfavorable for China's economic growth and future diplomatic strategy. Harbin girl dies after tonsil surgery, hospital allegedly empties internal organs for autopsy. A 10-year-old girl in Harbin died after a routine tonsil surgery at the Heilongjiang branch of Beijing Children's Hospital. On August 6, the girl's mother, Ms. Deng, brought her daughter to the hospital due to suspected swollen tonsils. The surgery was completed by 1:40 p.m., and doctors initially reassured Ms. Deng that everything went smoothly. By 4:30 p.m., the girl was reportedly coughing with lung bleeding and needed to be transferred to the ICU. However, hospital footage showed that she was never taken there. By 4:40 p.m., the parents were called into the operating room, where they found their daughter unresponsive with blood in her mouth, surrounded by over 10 doctors. Security then forcibly removed the parents. 10 minutes later, doctors allowed the family to see the girl for the last time, stating resuscitation was impossible as her pupils were dilated. Despite the family's plea to continue efforts, a friend warned them that the child's bones could break from prolonged CPR. The official cause of death was listed as alveolar hemorrhage, but the hospital did not inform the family until hours later, raising suspicions. Ms. Deng questioned whether something was wrong with the doctors since pre-surgery tests showed her daughter was healthy. She agreed to an autopsy, but the day before it, she was informed that the child's cranial, chest, and abdominal cavities had already been emptied. On August 19, during a meeting with the hospital director, the family confronted him about another child's death at the same hospital in May and questioned if there was a quota for deaths, to which the director remained silent. This incident has sparked outrage online. A user on the overseas platform X, @Xian, commented, "I have been a practicing lawyer in Harbin for 30 years. In recent years, over 10 children who consulted me have mysteriously died after being hospitalized for conditions like diarrhea at the Harbin Children's Hospital. Conservatively, over the past 10 years, 500 children have died at Harbin Children's Hospital. I can testify under my real name if needed." Mao Zedong's roots, Deng Xiaoping's vines, is Xi Jinping the fruit? On August 22, the CCP commemorated the 120th anniversary of Deng Xiaoping's birth with a high-profile event where Xi Jinping delivered a speech filled with lavish praise for Deng, calling him a warrior, core, chief architect, pioneer, and internationalist. She highlighted Deng's importance by describing him with terms like remarkable and great, asserting that the best way to honor Deng is to focus on Chinese-style modernization and national rejuvenation while maintaining the CCP's leadership core. She also mentioned that fulfilling the aspirations of Mao and Deng, achieving complete national reunification, is central to the new era approach to solving the Taiwan issue. The event was attended by Politburo Standing Committee members Zhao Leji, Wang Huning, Ding Shuixiang, and Li Shi, along with Vice President Han Zhang, with Kai Chi presiding. A BBC Chinese report noted that Xi's frequent high-profile comparisons with Deng reflect the CCP's narrative of elevating Xi as a leader on par with Mao and Deng. Experts observed core similarities between Deng and Xi, particularly in their shared focus on preserving CCP rule during critical periods. Miles Yu, director of the Hudson Institute's China Center, pointed out that both Deng and Xi are steadfast communists with similar goals, upholding one-party rule. Mr. Yu argued that neither leader represents true reform, rather, their policies are designed to deceive the capitalist world while strengthening the CCP's authoritarian grip. He noted that Deng's strategy of hiding capabilities and biding time was not about peace but about building strength for future dominance, a strategy Xi continues. The South China Morning Post echoed this view, stating that comparing Deng and Xi is inevitable. Despite different approaches, both leaders share a common goal, ensuring the CCP's survival and dominance. While Deng opted for collective leadership and economic focus to stabilize the party after the Cultural Revolution, Xi has pursued aggressive anti-corruption campaigns and centralization of power to combat internal crises. Scholar Wu Guoguang argues that while many see Xi Jinping as a departure from Deng Xiaoping's path, the two are closely connected. Wu explains that Deng's market reforms and embrace of globalization were always aimed at strengthening one-party rule, not liberalizing China. Deng's approach combined economic growth with strict authoritarian control, leading to what is now known as the China model. Mr. Wu highlights that this model fueled China's economic rise but also caused issues like corruption and social inequality, which threatened the CCP's stability. By the time Xi took power, the CCP was deeply worried about these growing contradictions. Xi's solution was to centralize power and suppress any challenges to one-party rule, continuing Deng's underlying goal of preserving the CCP. Mr. Wu concluded that the four basic principles Deng introduced in 1978 were aimed at preserving CCP rule, a goal Xi continues today. While circumstances and strategies have changed, both leaders remain committed to maintaining the party's authoritarian grip. In essence, Mao's roots and Deng's vines have indeed produced the fruit of Xi Jinping. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.